This is Think Out Loud on OPB. I'm Dave Miller. We end today with cheese. Terry Tith from Bend is a certified cheese professional. She earned that distinction from the American Cheese Society after working more than 4,000 hours in the cheese industry and passing an exam that tested her knowledge of the production, distribution, and science of cheese. She offers classes in cheese pairings and will be hosting a free event this Saturday at the Lapine Library. It is called Not Your Mama's Cheddar. Terry Tith, welcome to Think Out Loud.
Thank you so much. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk about cheese.
I am thrilled to have you on. When did you first get seriously interested in cheese?
Well, it was about a decade ago, and an acquaintance of mine was a chef in town. I really admired her food, and she approached me and my husband about starting a cheese business, and we did. And we ran it for a few years until I couldn't anymore, and that was just the start of that love affair, I'd say. Yeah.
I was assuming that you were going to say it went way back. So you weren't a huge cheese fan growing up?
You know, my grandma and my mom, they gave me cheddar, really sharp cheddar. I thought that was the only kind there was, but I've since learned better.
Okay, so you liked cheddar growing up, but you weren't a full cheese head.
No, I had not been introduced to the great world of artisanal cheeses, European cheeses. I mean, maybe in my 20s and 30s, I could afford a little brie, something a little more exotic, but I really wish I discovered it sooner because I think taste buds are fun.
You've spent a number of years working at the cheese counter at Market of Choice in Bend, I understand. What kinds of questions do people ask you when they come up to the counter?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Most times people have a list and they're in a hurry. Not everybody, but that's really why I wanted to start my side business and start educating about cheese, because it really wasn't that satisfying to not be able to have a longer conversation.
They had their shopping list. They wanted to get their shopping done, and you wanted to talk for half an hour about cheese.
Yeah, or where's this cheese? I can be quick about it. But I've had, very interesting in-depth conversations about raw milk cheese, lactose in cheese. What are those crunchy crystal things anyway? What makes a cheese orange? And it was so fun learning the answers to all these questions as I studied cheese. I spent a lot of money just to get certified, a lot of hours, time, and effort. And I wanted to do something with it, something more than just those quick conversations at the cheese counter.
I want to hear about that certification in just a second, but the question you just mentioned, so let's just get an answer to one of them. What are those crunchy crystal things in some cheeses?
Okay, all right. So when you're talking about an artisan cheese, live cultures are in it. Cheese cultures, they add flavors, they take it different directions depending on what cheese you're intending to create. And what's happening is we call cheese a live food. It's fermentation, just another type of fermentation. And those crystals are formed as the protein in cheese, and that protein is called casein. The protein is being broken down into its baser components, which are amino acids. So tyrosine crystals is what they are, and it's an amino acid. And it's usually an indication of a really delicious cheese.
All right, so let's get to the certification. You are a certified cheese professional. What did it take to get that distinction?
Well, even I smile when you say that, because when I tell someone that at a party, they just kind of crack a smile like, you're kidding me, right? Nobody's ever heard of this, right? Unless you're in the industry. So the 4,000 hours, I mean, it's working at the cheese counter. It's the business I started and had to wind down. It's classes I took. It's cheese festivals I went to. I learned how to make, simple cheeses. All of that counted. And they won't even let you sit for that exam until you prove you've done that. So if you're just starting out at a cheese counter, you got a few years to go, right?
And then the exam, what were you tested on in the exam?
Really great question. So this exam given by the American Cheese Society is very broad, but not very deep. So say you're a cheesemonger like myself. I am employed. My day job is a, paid by the hour cheesemonger. It's not a huge salary, but you have to know something about how to sell cheese, how to pair cheese. You have to know something about how the different cheeses are made. You have to know and understand basic things about the great cheeses of the world, the ones that are probably in your case. Distribution, the laws that apply, FDA laws as they apply, food labeling, how to read a nutritional label. We were tested on all those things.
For various professional wine certifications that there have been documentaries about. What most stands out to me, in my memory at least, is sort of blind tastings in addition to knowledge tests, where the would-be sommeliers or wine experts, they're given some wine and they have to identify what it is, what the flavor profile is, where it came from, maybe even the year, things that seem extraordinary to mere mortals. Is there anything like that for cheese?
Yes. So, and by the way, there's multiple different wine credentialing organizations. My wine credential is through the Wine and Spirits Education Trust. And as you go up in level, starting with 1, and they have 4 is the highest one. That's the diploma level. That's where you're doing blind tasting. You have to guess the varietal, that means what grape, how old is it, drink now, you have to evaluate it. So with cheese in this exam, you do not. But it's 150 multiple choice question, and you have just 3 hours to do it. However, I will mention the certifying organization, ACS is the acronym, American Cheese Society. They have a second exam that is all about tasting and evaluating. And I actually helped set up the room where they were giving this exam in Sacramento, where they held their annual conference last July. And it blew my mind. And I was wondering why they had, at a cheese conference, why did they have all these wine glasses in front of them? And it was later explained to me by someone who'd taken the exam that what they're doing is they're putting milk in all those glasses, and then they're putting a certain aroma or flavor in those glasses. And you have to identify, you have to nail what you're smelling. Isn't that crazy? And then they had a stack of papers about a half an inch thick, 8.5 by 11. No, actually it was legal size paper, one for each type of cheese. And you had to evaluate that cheese, each one that they put in front of you.
They were putting droppers of
yes,
some kind of odoriferous thing in milk, as opposed to because it seems like just eat the cheese. That seems like a pretty easy way to do it.
Yeah, no, you have to prove that you know what you're smelling. You have to identify correctly.
Are you going to be doing this?
I don't think I'm going that direction.
Okay.
No, I'm having too much fun talking to people in the community.
Speaking of that, you are going to have your cheddar event this Saturday at Lapine Library. What can people expect?
Well, they can expect to taste some cheddar, for one thing, and I'm going to blow their minds. They're going to know more about cheddar than they ever expected to know, probably. And I have to credit, there's a book I picked up. They had a little library as a section, a component of the conference that I went to this summer. And I picked up a book by Gordon Egger. It's called Cheddar, A Journey to the Heart of America's Most Iconic Cheese. And I had read this author before. He's really good at writing. He makes you laugh out loud. But it blew my mind. I learned so much about cheddar in that book. So I'm drawing from his heavily footnoted book, very researched book, to enlighten people about cheddar in Lapine this coming weekend.
Do you have a favorite cheese yourself?
Well, that's why I picked cheddar. So people ask me that question all the time, and which is silly. And I try to turn it around because really my job is to help them find what cheese they're going to love next, right? But I always say it's cheddar, and it really gets a curious look. But what I've learned is that cheddar isn't just one thing. It's not just that sharp cheddar that my grandmother and my mother gave me growing up, the one that makes your nose perspire. There is a huge range of cheddar, and it's a very interesting story. It came from England, but it's probably our most favorite, most beloved cheese in America.
There's a long culinary history of cheese being paired with wine, but you have been working on pairing it with sake, with the Japanese beverage made from fermented rice. How'd you start doing that?
That is correct. Well, first of all, it started way back when, many years ago. I married a guy who was a fisherman, so we eat a lot of fish at home, and but we go to restaurants and we'll do sushi, and we never knew. I always struggled with what sake to order. We finally found one we like, and we'd all say, "Oh, we want the one in the brown bottle." I couldn't even pronounce the name for years. But I decided that I saw this class being offered at one of our local wine tasting bars in Bend, and this guy named Eli Negren, who is a certified sake expert. He's certified through the same credentialing organization I'm studying to get my credential. in sake. Anyway, Eli, I heard him say in this class, and we weren't pairing it with any foods. He was just tasting wonderful sakes with us. And he said, sake doesn't just go with raw fish. And so that really got my attention. And when you think about it, it makes sense. In Japan, they don't just eat raw fish every day. They have a whole cuisine over there. And, think Kobe beef. They've got pork dishes. Think ramen. They drink sake with all that, different kinds of sake. So I went up to Eli after the class and I said, hey, Eli, I introduced myself. I said, let's prove it. Let's do a sake and cheese pairing. And we did many months later.
And the rest is history.
And then we did another one, not with Eli. He was kind enough to share his slides with us, and another friend of mine who worked at a local liquor store that has one of the best sake selections in town. He presented with me so I could just focus on the cheese, but I really want to do it again. In fact, we have a business in town called the Bend Language Institute, and they have a new Japanese language instructor, and sometimes they do food and cultural things in addition to that. And the owner of that business and I are talking about presenting the next one, along with some etiquette of serving sake.
Terry, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the time to talk about cheese.
Terry Tith is a certified cheese professional in Bend. Tomorrow on the show, Oregon's legislative session has to end by this coming Sunday. We'll get an update on where budget and policy bills stand right now and a preview of what to expect in the final days of the session. Thanks very much for tuning in to Think Out Loud on OPB and KLCC. I'm Dave Miller. We'll be back tomorrow.
Think Out Loud is supported by Steve and Jan Oliva, the Rose E. Tucker Charitable Trust, and Michael, Kristen, Andrew Kern, and Anna Sanford.